Hello everyone and welcome to another video. As a lot of you probably don't know, I use an Aerostorm for my NIC primary. I use it because it has a great rate of fire, it can keep up with Hopper blasters, maybe not with as many rounds, but the rate of fire on it is really good. It gets some pretty great ranges for an old vintage Springer, and it just works. It works really well. Compared to the old Big Blast that I used, the tank expanded ball pump replaced whatever one, it just lets me play so much better. I can keep up with people, I can move in closer, the rate of fire is really good. And when I got a package from Bob that had a Ballzooka in it, I remembered that the internals for the Aerostorm and the Ballzooka are really similar. And that led me to make this, the Ballzooka Storm, as I'm calling it. So what all have I done to the Ballzooka Storm? Well, we'll start from top to bottom, and first you'll notice brass, lots of brass. It is 4 inches of 17/32 brass with 9/16 brass slotted on the top. There's 4 inches of the 9/16 with 1 inch slotted over, so it's nice and secure and straight. So there's actually 3 inches of 9/16. And the reason I did this and not use CPVC is because I felt for a push-pull blaster, like the Ballzooka, CPVC may be too tight for darts, and I wanted there to be a slightly loose fit on the dart. It's pretty tight, 17/32 is pretty tight on Stefans, depending on your foam, and beige foam, it's a little tight. But this will build up the pressure, and then the 9/16 is there to kind of stabilize the dart. Especially with elite darts, there's that fishtailing that happens if you don't have a long enough barrel and a lot of velocity behind the dart. And I wanted to make sure there was no fishtailing with Stefans. Even though they're not really prone to fishtailing, I thought better be safe than sorry. So there's 4 inches of 9/16 and only 3 of it is actually used. I may cut this down by an inch, maybe an inch and a half if need be, but for now that's what I'm using. It makes the barrels nice and long while still giving the dart something to kind of guide it without, you know, stopping it in the barrel. The 17/32 is E-taped and cooped into inch to half-inch reducers, and the reason I'm using those is because the inch bottom of it fits over these little mounds on the bottom of the Ballzooka barrels, and you can perfectly see those in the rear loading slots. You can see those little dimples in there where it's darker. So yeah, I had to use the inch to half-inch because nothing else would really fit, and I wanted there to be couplers on here instead of trying to, I don't know, fill up the Ballzooka barrels. Just have these because they're much easier and they're really cheap. On the back I have the rear loading slots. These are my first ever official rear loading slots, and while they are a little off, I'm not gonna lie, they're a little off. They work really well, and I love rear loading slots. If you can do them for a blaster, just make them happen. There's no reason you shouldn't put rear loading slots. They just make things so much easier than a coupler, you know, piece. They have to pull out, load, and then put back in. So that's the front, and on the inside, the only thing I really did was put Teflon tape under the O-ring piece that fits into the little dimple area to create the seal. And besides that, the plunger tube had a 100% seal, but there is one big problem, and that is from that O-ring piece with the Teflon tape underneath of it. Instead of being made out of the rubber that or the rubber or synthetic rubber that we're used to in, you know, current blasters that Nerf puts out, this is made from a really stiff material. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a really stiff O-ring, and it doesn't squish itself into the little mound area. It just kind of stops. The Aerostorm has a nice squishy material, and I feel that gets a better seal because it can squish into a smaller area. This doesn't like to do that, and I am losing a lot of air seal from it. I think I'm losing about 60–55% of my air seal in there. If you don't believe me, well, here's a good demonstration. And on another barrel. So it's all being lost in that connection, and I may need to go back around the brass and kind of seal it up just a little bit. But with all this the way it is, let's go range test it. Alright everyone, we are out at the park that I did the Centurion range test at, except we're facing the other direction. And I have the tape measure all laid out, and hopefully I can find these beige darts on the kind of brown grass, but I don't think it'll be too hard, but I'll do the best of my ability. So I'm gonna load up the Ballzooka Storm with some Stefans, and I'll try and keep it as flat as possible, but that's kind of hard because it's a push-pull type deal, so I'll do my best no guarantees, and then I guess I'll do an angled range test. But yeah, let me load this up and we'll get started. So my plan is to shoot about 10 to 15 darts. So I'm gonna shoot this off, load it, shoot it off, and then load it again and shoot it off. And then we'll go see the range test for flat. So here's the first 5. This is pushing as hard as I can while trying to keep it as flat as possible. All right, let me load up the next 5. All right, here we go. And the last 5. All right, let's go see where those landed. Here's one right next to the 56-foot line. These are hard to find. We have 2 at the 63. We have 1 up near 67, and another one right along the 68. All right, just for the sake of seeing how far I can push this, I'm gonna shoot these angled. All right, there's a good amount of dart wobble coming from a few of them, possibly due to a really awkward barrel fit when I had to push some of them in there. Let's go see if I can find them. All right, here is one at the 89-foot mark. Yeah, that's like the only one I can find. It's really brown around here. Lots of leaves, lots of dead grass. Here's one that went a bit off course. Let me try and line this up as well as I can. 95, all right. And here's another one at the, was that almost 99-foot mark. So not too bad, not too bad. So the ranges on this thing aren't spectacular. They're not great. I would put them on the scale of between decent and good. Depending on your dart fit, this thing gets better than elite ranges, so I guess that's a little achievement for this, especially since it has such a terrible seal on it. But I think it would make a nice little loaner for someone who is joining your war, since, you know, you can get a good rate of fire out of it, and the rear loading slots, even though the brass needs to be flared a little bit, you can load your darts pretty fast into this. But yeah, like I said, I just need to get the seal on this much better, and it'll be hitting much better ranges, obviously. So until that time, I think it's a fun little project. I won't say I made it seriously, but I made it just for, you know, adding to the Storm family along with the Zerg Blaster and Aerostorm. And I like it. I think it's a nice little blaster and has a good weight to it. And I think it's fun. I wouldn't say it's too practical, but it's fun. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the Ballzooka Storm. Maybe I'll write that somewhere on there. Ballzooka Storm. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great day wherever you are.